Hello, Namaskar from Banaras Hindu University, India. Unfortunately, I could not be present there at Calgary to attend this Pan Commonwealth Conference on Open Learning. But I thank all the organizers for giving me opportunity to present my paper in a virtual mode using the latest technology in the form of an app developed for the conference. So I'll be presenting my paper on the blended learning using agMOOCs as a tool for professional development, a case of students of agriculture in India. I, being a faculty member in the Institute of Agricultural Sciences, Banaras Hindu University, we had an experiment during this pandemic on how we can make use of this blended learning for professional development of our students. Coming to the concept of blended learning, University Grants Commission, which is a body of Government of India, defines blended learning as an instructional methodology, a teaching and learning approach that combines face-to-face classroom methods with computer-mediated activities to deliver the instructions. The question here was, before pandemic, so we were having limited use of the digital technologies in educational delivery, and it's using it as a platform for professional development. But pandemic has teach us many such technologies wherein how we can combine these things, and in the post-pandemic era we are deriving the benefits out of that. One such experiment that we conducted as a part of our instructional process for delivering the courses for master students was an experiment on blended learning. UGC puts the benefits of blended learning as it is an opportunity for collaboration at a distance, because the students are having both the opportunities of learning virtually as well as in the physical mode. There is a lot of flexibility because the same content what we are discussing in the class is also available in electronic platforms. Then the learning is enhanced on these platforms because there is an increased interaction. Then learning to be a virtual citizen, it is going to help you so that you can be a virtual citizen. Then blended learning provides making learning resources and experiences repeatable, reliable and reproducible because of its presence on the virtual platform. Coming to agMOOCs as a tool, which agriculture MOOCs, which is a collaborative effort of Commonwealth of Learning and Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, which launched in 2015, as on date is running 24 courses on its agMOOCs platform, which is specifically for the MOOCs on agriculture and allied sciences. As on date, there are more than 2 million users. The features of this agMOOCs include its user-friendly format and has an access to all the courses offered once you are registered there. Then the contents are available in a video, audio as well as PDF format, and you can download the PPTs also. There is an excellent mechanism for monitoring the attendance. The strategic as well as dynamic resources are available for the students for further references. Then there is a forum to put views and get answers to the doubts from the experts and the faculty members. Then you can hang out with your fellow colleagues with the platforms like chat and using the fellow learners. Coming to the theoretical framework of blended learning using agMOOCs, which was utilized in this particular experiment. So there are digital teaching tools as on agMOOC platform, and there are direct teaching tools. So agMOOCs is our base for this experiment, and we are combining it with the direct teaching tools using the Blackboard, feedback, lecture methods, group discussion, presentation, simulation, face-to-face interaction. These are traditionally what we are using, but in addition to that, we started using the virtual classes, the videos, e-content, then interaction with in the form of chats and resource section, online forums which are present on the agMOOCs platform. In both these efforts, what is the role of a learner? So in this process, because of direct as well as the digital teaching tools, the learner keep focused for a longer period of time. Otherwise, we have a limited interaction in the classroom, but after that, there are chances of coming out of that interaction, but here he is focusing more on that. Then, learner has an autonomy in addition to the physical mode, so there is a platform for online mode also. Then, disposition of self-advocacy, because he himself can realize, visualize the benefits of this, then he can work on that. Then, instant feedback, both the sides, learner as well as the source. Then set their own pace of learning. Learners set their own pace of learning, because every learner don't have the same capacity to learn. There are some slow learners, there are some quick learners, but how to establish the balance among the learners is one of the important issues wherein blended learning can definitely help. Then it helps in preparation for their future. The features of blended learning include enhanced teacher-learner interaction, which we can see in our results also. Then enhanced grasping ability of the learner because of his involvement not only in the physical mode, using the online resources also. Flexible teaching learning environment. It is not that the teacher is going to teach you with the help of only the slides, because the learner comes with certain preparations to the class. So that is why there is a flexibility in the learning environment. Then opportunity for experiential learning, because it forces the students to learn, as well as it forces the faculty members or the instructor also to learn, because when the student approaches the online platforms, definitely he comes with more equipped information. Then time management and superior learning outcomes are also there, which we'll be looking into our results. Then what is the role of a teacher? Teacher acts as a coach or a mentor. Then learner have to have his own pace of learning. Teacher is only the facilitator here, and he can make the learning more student driven rather than the teacher driven. Then it is more of bottom up approach that we can say. Then the continuous learner engagement by attracting the attention of individual learners. So these are some of the issues we addressed in the form of the theoretical framework of this blended learning. The methodology that we adopted was, the study was conducted in 2021-22, wherein 15 students of masters who are appearing in masters for agricultural extension and communication in the Department of Extension Education were the respondents. The course that was offered was e-extension. Then it is also available on the MOOC platform. The classes were organized in a hybrid mode, physical as well as online. Then the attributes that were studied include the attributes of a blended mode of learning, like purpose of learning, what is the method of adopted, then learning steps, change in the grasping ability, change in the interaction with the course instructor. Then the perception of the learners about the utility of this hybrid mode of learning were also studied, with the elements like enhancement of academic discussion abilities, enhanced engagement of learners, then instant feedback and clarification of doubts, which preparation for the future goals, as well as the learner autonomy. As far as the learner's perception about the content made available via online platform was also studied, with the help of the elements like the analytical abilities of the concepts and the contents of this particular course, comprehension of the concept, ability to set own pace of learning, framing of pertinent questions to be asked in the classroom, then flexibility in the content availability, and open access to the contents in all formats like video, audio, transcript, PPTs, etc. The results reveal that the change in the interaction with the course instructor before adoption of this particular methodology in the first 1 week. So the instructor used to get around 2 to 3 questions in the class, but after this mode of teaching and learning process, he started getting 8 to 10 questions in the class. So this is what is the change in the interaction level that you can say. Change in the grasping ability, they started learning the holistic aspects of the content that are discussed in the class. The learning steps that were adopted include the learner exposes himself to this online content, then he comes to the class. Then the method adopted was the blended method, as we discussed in our previous slide also. So wherein the learner is getting himself prepared to attend the classes. Then what is the purpose of learning? Purpose of learning is not only to complete the course or a semester or the degree program, but to have the holistic understanding of the concepts that are discussed and how we can make use of these concepts in our professional life. Then regarding the learner's perception about the adoption of hybrid model of blended learning includes the learner autonomy. Here the learner started feeling very happy because he had a freedom of going through the contents that he is going to discuss in the class well in advance. Then he is preparing for the future goals because now his levels of understanding are going to be something different. Then he is giving as well as getting the instant feedback as well as clarification for his doubts, which otherwise generally doesn't happen in only the physical mode of the classes. Very few students are entering into this interaction. Then there is an enhanced engagement of learners. It is not only the classroom engagement, beyond the classroom also he is visiting the contents and he is updating himself before coming to the classes. Then enhancement of academic discussion abilities, because he has to frame the question, then he has to ask in the class, then get the doubts clarified, and in the process he is learning from others also, because every student who is attending the class is coming out with at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 questions in the class. So that makes them to learn by doing and seeing others' performance also. Then learner perception about the content made available via online mode, especially on the agMOOCs platform. The learners said that the analytical abilities of the learners, especially the concepts that are being discussed, are different, and they started grasping it in a different manner. For example, artificial intelligence application in various aspects that we have seen, but while it is being discussed in the case of agriculture, its utility is totally different. So how we can make use of that, and what are the nuances that are enclosed with that, so that now they are starting understanding and comprehending that particular thing. Then comprehension of the concept, it is not only understanding it in a literal manner, but going beyond its limits and thinking on that. So that is another important finding that what we got. Then ability to set own pace of learning. Learners started having their own pace of learning, because there are quick learners, as I have said, and there are slow learners. Now using this methodology, both are having their own pace, but the ultimate objective is to have the understanding of the concepts that are being discussed in the class, which was largely achieved with the blended mode of learning. Then framing of pertinent questions to be asked. So this was the major problem that what we observe in our classroom teaching. So students hesitate to ask the questions because they have their own doubts whether the question that I am going to ask is right or wrong. So whether it is correct or wrong. So there are so many such questions that they are facing, but with this exercise, so they have come out of that inhibition. Then flexibility in content availability in terms of the audio, video, text, PPTs, etc. So that was the variation that was provided by this agMOOC. Then open access to the content in all formats motivated the learners to accept these platforms, to learn from these platforms, and to understand with the help of these platforms. Now, coming to the conclusion, the blended learning helped in imparting the skills with the methodology of learning by doing. It gave an excellent opportunity for each and every learner to learn on his own. He started asking the questions to get his doubts clarified. Then it helped them to grasp the concept very quickly because they had a prior understanding of that, prior exposure to that. Then it forced them to read between the lines. So what is written in the concept is one aspect, but what are the meanings of this concept beyond this particular understanding what we are discussing in the class? So that motivated them to read between the lines. Then change in the level of interaction not only with their fellow colleagues but with their instructors also. It helped in widening the mental horizon of the learners because they started visiting all the dynamic as well as static contents that are available on various web platforms. Otherwise, they might not have, or there was an option to go or not to go in the physical classroom situation, but these virtual platforms definitely force them to go beyond their learning experiences. Then it makes both teacher and learner more responsible, because teacher has to be updated in this particular platform, because when the student visits the online platforms, he is updating himself, and accordingly if the teacher is obsolete, so then his role becomes under question mark. So that is why he has to update himself on a continuous basis. So this is what is another important finding that we can say. The challenge in case of blended learning, what we can say is, so this is more acceptable and adoptable in case of where the small number of students are involved. As we said, in our case it was only about 15 students, and in case of postgraduate education. But adopting the same model in undergraduate education, where the number of students are more, like 100 plus or so, so then it becomes a challenging task, because accommodating the questions of 100 students in every class may be an uphill task. So this is what is the challenge that the blended learning is having. So with this, I am concluding my presentation. Thank you, and I would like to answer if you have any questions.